One man is being victimized by our own government. One man whom they fear, yet whom millions love. One man who is willing to take the poison arrows of lawfare. One man whose voice has been taken away by a corrupt judge operating in a corrupt system. One man who has been ridiculed and insulted. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who stands between us and them. One man that wants to see America protected again. One man who wants to see America prosper again. One man who understands that a man is a man and a woman is a woman. One man who understands and protects the blessing of life. One man who wants to restore American exceptionalism. One man who once again wants to make America that shining city on a hill for all to see. A place where all the people of the world glowingly set their eyes upon. America. One man who unashamedly wants to make America great again. That one man is Donald Trump.
This is Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
Good morning, everybody. We had an early show today, an impromptu show. We found out late last night after the movie that President Trump would be meeting today, early this morning, with the president of Poland. If you remember, President Trump thoroughly endorsed this president of Poland. He actually is one of the guys over there who's like, I want to make Poland great again. He wants to be Trump-like over in Poland, and I think we could learn something from their immigration methods that they deploy over in Poland. So, just a quick little bit of housekeeping for all you guys who watched the movie last night. Thank you for tuning in. I understand it's a difficult movie to watch. There's a lot going on. Very tough subject, as some of you may know. There's been a couple different, I will know if we call them hearing or press conferences this morning regarding things with Epstein. So what we're going to do is we're going to show that on our second show today. I've recorded it. I've got it ready. We'll show that on our second show. By the way, our second show today should be a humdinger. We've got John Rich here, who will be here. I think he's sometime around 3 o'clock or so. So we're probably not going to do a 1 o'clock show, we're not going to do a 1 o'clock show. I'm planning at this point to go live at about 2:30 or 3 with some news for you, show you this stuff about the Epstein stuff, and then also bring on John Rich. So what you're looking at now is a feed view of the White House. Right now, really nothing going on, waiting for them to start the festivities, as they always are, and fashionably late. Nothing happening right now. You know what? I could probably go to, as the hearing's still going. Let's go to a little bit and listen to some of what is being said at this hearing. It's in progress. This afternoon, I'll have the entirety of it, and we can take a listen. But while we're waiting for President Trump to bring on the president of Poland and begin their stuff, let's listen into what some of is being said outside of Capitol Hill today.
And Paul Cassell take on my case pro bono and fight fearlessly over 20 years' time I would like to thank them, and I'd also like to ask the Trump administration to please sign off on the Crime Victims' Rights Reformed Act, the Courtney Wild Crime Victims' Rights Reformed Act that's we're trying to get passed here, so we can close the loopholes in the CVRA case that Epstein's attorney used to their benefit to get away with this. Thank you so much.
Good morning. First and foremost, we want to extend our deepest gratitude to Brad and Brittany Edwards, Congressman Massey and Kana, and above all, the brave survivors who have entrusted us with the privilege of speaking today on behalf of Virginia Roberts Giuffre as her family. We are here today because we support H.Res.581.
All right, so I saw the question. People are like, who are these people? These, unlike some of the other hearings and press conferences, these are actual victims and relatives of the victims of that dude over there, the one who got snuffed out in prison, supposedly. So this is a completely different angle. These people have decided to come out. A lot of the women behind him are the actual victims. And so they're speaking out and telling you their stories. And they came out with their own list, which I don't know if they revealed the entirety of it. But when I cut back into this, the women standing behind this gentleman speaking are actual victims. So it's a completely different aspect of things from what we've been hearing the dog and pony show about Epstein.
What's right, and this is about ensuring that the future we leave behind isn't one where the powerful can hide behind their wealth, their influence, and their money to evade justice. Our plea to you, whether you're a dad, a mom, a brother, or a sister, look your young ones in the face, look them in the eye, and tell them you didn't stand against the very people who raped, molested, and preyed upon children and young women. Tell them you were willing to negotiate a deal. Money should never be what makes something right or wrong. If you vote no, your stance will be clear. You will be choosing to stand on the side of the rich and powerful, allowing money to buy your way out of the consequence. But here's my one ask. Look these survivors in the eye and tell them why. Then, look the people of the United States in the eye and tell them why. And then, when you're alone, look yourself in the mirror and ask yourself why. Virginia said it best, and I quote, "I have physical and mental scars that will never heal. I have memories that will never go away. They say time can heal, but this won't. Not until the justice system makes an example out of these people with so-called privileges. I just call it money. The only time I can begin to heal is when their freedom is taken from them, just like they did to me and literally thousands of other victims. The survivors of this horrific abuse are watching. The American people are watching. And history is watching. Which side will you be on?" Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jenna Lisa Jones, and I was only 14 years old when my friend brought me over to Jeffrey Epstein's house in Palm Beach in 2003. I had a terrible home life, but I was such an innocent kid then. I always did my best in school, and I had such a positive outlook on life. Until that day that I met Jeffrey, I have never been more scared in my life than I was that first time that he hurt me. I remember crying the entire way home, thinking about how I couldn't ever tell anyone about what actually happened in that house. This guy was so rich and had so many pictures with so many famous people, and no one would have ever believed me if I told them. I want to thank Congressman Rowe and Congressman Thomas Massey for Having me here today, it was really hard for me to find my voice and to become strong enough to speak about my abuse. I didn't come forward until 2019, and even then it was like I was afraid of a ghost. I know that I was just a little kid, but sometimes I still feel like it is my fault that this happened. Being given the opportunity to speak at the United States Capitol building about something that is so important, not just to me and the women before you, but to the entire country. Together, we can finally make a change. And that is thanks to the people like these two congressmen and their teams who actually care about the victims. If you are a member of Congress and you are listening to all of us speak here today, please really listen to us. Please vote for this bill to be passed. Please recognize how important it is for transparency relating to Jeffrey Epstein. Whether you are a Democrat or a Republican, this does not matter. This is not about sides. You are an American and you are a person who has chosen to serve in an elected position to stand up for those you represent who cannot always stand up for themselves. We are those people. We are the Americans that you promised to protect. And we need your help. Please, President Trump, pass this bill and help us. Make us feel like our voices are finally being heard. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Haley Robson. I was a 16-year-old high school student athlete who made good grades and had high aspirations for college when I was recruited and asked by a classmate of mine alongside with a 20-year-old male if I wanted to give an old rich guy a massage. But what high school girl would not want to do that? That day changed my life forever. And when I got into the massage room, Jeffrey Epstein undressed and asked me to do things to him. My eyes welled up with tears, and I have never been more scared in my life. When it was over, he paid me $200 and requested in exchange that I bring a girl each time to make another $200. I told him I did not want to do that, and then he gave me an ultimatum. Either you come here and massage me when I call you, or you bring me friends of yours to massage, and I will give you $200 per girl for each time she comes. I felt and hoped to never hear from him again, but he called me every day. He was so wealthy and powerful, and he would not let me go. I felt I had no choice. If I disobeyed him, I knew something bad would happen. So knowing I did not want to be sexually abused, I started to bring him other girls from my high school, and he paid me $200 for bringing them. I just hoped each time it would be the last time. One day, the stepmom of one of the girls brought him and called the police on Jeffrey Epstein. The police then called me in for questioning. I had told them the truth despite the fact that I was a teenager and a minor, and I was able to tell the police the names of all the other victims. The police treated me like a criminal. I had, by this time, had turned 18. I had been with Jeffrey since I was 16 and for 2 years. So they had told me So they told me I was going to be arrested. My name was then distributed to the press as a co-conspirator of my abuser, who I detested. My entire world was crashing in around me, and I started being threatened and bullied, till this day still receiving death threats. I was singled out and for many years had to suffer a smear campaign of lies about me because of the way that I was portrayed by the press. The press made me out to be a predator when I was just a 16-year-old little girl who was sexually abused by a powerful man and an evil man. For years, I had no friends. My boyfriend was murdered, and there was nowhere to turn. The government, after investigating more, learned that I was true a victim, but the damage was done and it was too late. There was no way to undo the harm the press had caused me. In 2019, I met Brad Edwards and Brittany Henderson. They changed my life and they believed in me and have helped me to finally heal. Healing is a process, and I may never get there. But the passage of this bill requiring the government to produce all the evidence that it has gathered on Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell is a huge component of healing for me and for the many other women who have suffered for so long. For many reasons. First, we and the rest of the world need answers. Why was he so protected? And why didn't anyone ever care to stop him? It doesn't take a brain surgeon to know that if he is spending thousands of dollars a day paying high school girls he abuses and had a lot of access to cash. I learned through my attorneys in the JP Morgan class action case that there were years when his staff withdrew over $1 million in cash a year. Was that not a big enough red flag? There were wire transfers to other victims, and the government did not protect us. The banks did not protect us. So lift the curtain on these files and be transparent. Every single time a new conspiracy gets circulated in the media, whether he is still alive, what powerful person had him murdered, who was on the Epstein client list, and there are names going around on TikTok and Instagram, we, the survivors, are suffering severely. We take our kids to school and everyone is talking about it. We can't read the news or do anything without hearing crazy stories that are only able to live on because the government continues to hide the evidence and the truth. So people just make up stories. Those stories hurt. They hurt real people who have already been hurt. And we have lost so many Epstein victims to suicide, and maintaining the real truth in secrecy only allows for conspiracy theorists to tell lies that drives up our anxiety and fears and will continue to lead to more pain, more suffering, and honestly, more deaths of innocent victims. It's time you do is right by us. Unseal all the documents. We are requesting transparency, and I am requesting every congressman and woman that goes against this bill be outed. I want to know. Thank you.
Tear into the press and tear into Congress.
Hi there, my name is Lisa Phillips, and I'm the host of a award-nominated podcast called From Now On, a platform supporting survivors. I want to thank all of my survivor sisters who came before me today. I'll be very short. In the year 2000, I was taken to Jeffrey Epstein's island while on a photo shoot on a nearby island. Who I saw and what I experienced there was a glimpse into a very dark and disturbing world. For years after, I tried to avoid Jeffrey, but he had introduced me to Katie Ford, the owner of the Ford Modeling Agency. Epstein's reach went to the very top of fashion, arts, and entertainment. This did not just happen to underage girls in Florida. In New York City, hundreds of young, ambitious women were abused by him. Epstein was not just a serial predator, he was an international human trafficker. And many around him knew, many participated, and many profited. And yet, he was protected. So I stand here today for every woman who has been silenced, exploited, and dismissed. We are not asking for pity. We are here demanding accountability, and I'm demanding justice. Congress must choose. Will you continue to protect predators, or will you finally protect survivors? And also, I would like to announce here today, us Epstein survivors have been discussing creating our own list. We know the names. Many of us were abused by them. Now, together as survivors, we will confidentially compile the names we all know who were regularly in the Epstein world. And it will be done by survivors and for survivors. No one else is involved. Stay tuned for more details.
Hello, my name is Shante Davies, and I'm here before you today as a survivor of decades of pain, trauma, and betrayal at the hands of Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein. and the people who enabled them, and a government that for far too long refused to help. In 2002, I was living in California, a young woman with high aspirations of becoming an actress. I was already beginning to make a name for myself in the industry. A person I trusted, someone I thought was a friend, invited me to meet a powerful woman who could help advance my career. That woman happened to be Ghislaine Maxwell. I was asked to give her a massage, though I had almost no experience, and when I did, she praised me and promised introductions to someone enormously powerful, someone who could change the course of my life, and that man was Jeffrey Epstein. At first, I was an excited young woman on top of the world. Epstein flew me to his private island. He listened to my dreams, promised to help, but his promises came with a catch. The abuse began. He told me to keep it secret. He manipulated me with quid pro quo I did not consent to, but I felt I had no one to turn to. He was too powerful. I was just one of the many young women trapped in his orbit. I was even taken on a trip to Africa with former President Bill Clinton and other notable figures. In those moments, I realized how powerless I was. If I spoke out, who would believe me? Who would protect me? Epstein himself was the most powerful leader of our country. Epstein surrounded himself, with the most powerful leaders of our country and the world. He abused not only me, but countless others, and everyone seemed to look away. The truth is, Epstein had a free pass. He bragged about his powerful friends, including our current president, Donald Trump. It was his biggest brag, actually. And while what I endured will haunt me forever, I live every day with PTSD. I live as a mother trying to raise my child while distrusting a world that has betrayed me. This kind of trauma never leaves you. It breaks families apart. It shapes the way we see everyone around us. But one thing is certain, unless we learn from this history, monsters like Epstein will rise again. There are files, government files, that hold the truth about Epstein, who he knew, who owed him, who protected him, and why he was allowed to operate for so long without consequence. Why was Maxwell the only one held accountable when so many others played a role? Why does the government hide this information from the public? This secrecy is not protection, it's complicity. And as long as the truth is buried, justice will remain out of reach. That is why this bill matters. Passing it will, bless you, ensure that the suffering of survivors is not in vain. Passing it will bring accountability, transparency, and prevention. It will help protect the next generation of predators who seek to place themselves above the law through wealth, influence, and connections. This is not just my story. It is about every survivor who carries invisible scars. It's about the weight we live with daily. It is about the families broken and the futures stolen. So I ask you, President Trump and members of Congress, why do we continue to cover up sexual abuse and assault? Who are we covering for? Let the public know the truth. We cannot heal without justice. We cannot protect the future if we refuse to confront the past. Thank you.
Let's just give a round of applause for all the courage and strength that the survivors have shown. We now will take a few questions. You can always get Congressman Massey, me, or Congresswoman Green in the hallways and other places. If you have questions for us, that's fine. But I wanted to see first if you have questions for the lawyers and the survivors, and Brad will facilitate any of the questions to the survivors. Yes?
Yeah. This question would be for the survivors, Mr. Edwards. The president has said that this Epstein issue is a hoax, is the words that he used. Can we get your reactions to what you think when you hear him say that?
I'll answer that. Mr. President Donald J. Trump, I am a registered Republican, not that that matters because this is not political. However, I cordially invite you to the Capitol to meet me in person so you can understand this is not a hoax. We are real human beings. This is real trauma.
What does it feel like emotionally to hear?
It's being gutted from the inside out. Not that I would know what that feels like, but I imagine it's the anxiety buildup with the depression and the survival mode, and then your nervous system goes limp and ironically is shot. And it feels like you just want to explode inside because nobody, again, is understanding that this is a real situation. These women are real. We're here in person. To say that it's a hoax is just not... Please humanize us. I would like Donald J. Trump and every person in America and around the world to humanize us, to see us for who we are and to hear us for what we have to say. There is no hoax. The abuse was real. Now, what goes on behind closed doors, I can't speak for that. What happens around the world politically, I cannot speak for that. But I am here with all of these women, including our attorneys, and I would be more than happy to meet with him, and I will meet him halfway.
Ms. Edwards, I wonder if any of the victims could respond to the news from recently about Ghislaine Maxwell being transferred to a lower security prison in the aftermath of speaking to Todd Blank.
You want that one? About her transfer to a... Oh, yeah. I'm happy to speak to that. We were horrified to learn that she had been transferred to a prison camp. She is someone who was found guilty by a jury of sex trafficking. She not only, we often hear that she procured women for Jeffrey, which I think is a very sort of polite and minimizing term. She also participated in the abuse. She was a major architect of the scheme. And the fact that she has painted herself as a victim.
Trump, why not slap additional sanctions on Russia, sir? Why not do that now?
All right, so you know what happens next. They go in, they do a little talk, they get settled in the Oval Office, and then all the reporters and probably some of the cabinet members end up coming in and they do the press conference. Kind of wonder why. I mean, yesterday when we heard that there was going to be a flyover, many of us just went, why? Why now is there going to be a flyover? I understand the president of Poland is there. Okay, but why the flyover? I can't tell you. I know what happened in China, and you know what happened in China. They had this giant military parade, and they invited Putin, and they invited Kim Jong-un from North Korea. They were flexing muscle there. I don't know. I don't know what kind of signals they are. And the other thing I don't know is what you were just watching, which gets you some people viscerally upset. I have no way of knowing what these women are saying has any veracity whatsoever. It is just news. That's all it is. It is people saying and you're empathizing with what they've gone through. But I don't know if they have anything concrete on Bill Clinton. I don't know what they know. Remember, those are statements to the press. It is not under oath. Under threat of perjury, as you're saying your statement. Some of the other comments I recognize, people said, why do they wait till now? Well, they didn't have a voice until now. Nobody wanted to hear them. In fact, I don't even know who covered that. Probably not a lot of stations even bothered showing it. It has been swept under the rug. And there's so much conjecture, and nobody really knows what the hell happened. They won't let us know. And I, for one, a lot of people accuse me of not caring. Oh, no, I care. I just don't have any idea what to do. I don't have any idea what we can do. I don't know what's true, what's not true. There's a lot of talk. There's a lot of fire possibly under that smoke, but we don't know. And so now it's starting to bubble up. I don't know what Massey's motives are. I don't know what Marjorie Taylor Greene's motives are. I don't know. The only thing I wanted to show that for you is for you to have the knowledge of what is actually being said. Not forming any judgment, and I'm definitely not endorsing what they said as gospel. So it is something that they're trying to get pushed into law. I guess Massey and Ro Khanna, who's a Democrat, as well as Marjorie Taylor Greene, they're the ones who are pushing this law called the Epstein Transparency Act. We'll see where it goes. I have no idea. But I just wanted you guys to... Are they still talking? Let me see. I mean, there's a whole bunch of them there. Let me see if I... what are they doing here? Hold on. Let's see here. Let's see if they're still talking.
It is not okay for us to be silenced. And it's not okay for Jeffrey Epstein and everybody else to be put on a pedestal. I think everybody needs to hear from us because we know what went on, right? And there is not only me who's been silenced, there are hundreds of women that are silenced. My hope is to stop this abuse for the future, right? For people that are coming up, for women. My daughter, for example, these women have daughters. They most definitely don't want that anymore. And I think mainly this is therapy for all of us too. You know, we want to be heard. Nobody also has never asked me to speak. That's also another thing. So I can say for all of us here, we are here. We want this bill to pass. It is very important. Okay, and we need transparency. We are tired of looking at the news and seeing Jeffrey Epstein's name and saying that this is a hoax. We are tired of it. We are done. We are not going to be silenced, and I hope that my voice will bring other survivors and other victims to come along and speak up so that we can be more of a stronger voice and louder.
And so what is your message to President Trump on this matter?
Listen, I don't want to send a direct message to him. I'm already scared enough. Yeah, just pass the vote, listen to us. This is not a hoax. Like, it's not going to go away. And like I said on my speech earlier, we're not going to be silenced anymore. We will be speaking moving forward. Wherever we need to be, we will be, and we need to pass this.
Go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Jordan Conrad from Gateway Pundit. For years we've heard that there was an Epstein client list or some kind of list. Now we hear from the DOJ that there's no list. Question for all the victims. What do you guys think? I know you're working on your own list, but do you believe that Jeffrey Epstein had a list?
Yeah. So there's not a list. Yeah. So here's what it was. Just like you heard everybody today, Jeffrey Epstein created through an organization that of enablers, of people that were on his payroll. It was a complicated scheme where others should still be investigated because they helped to enable him and operate this scheme. Without those people, he could not have done this. But the purpose was for him to personally abuse people. With that being said, certain of his friends, he farmed out certain of the women that he was exploiting too. But that wasn't the primary purpose of that scheme, and I don't think he wrote the names of those people down. There's not a list of, hey, here's all of the people that I sent females to. That's just not how that organization works.
Mr. Edwards,
Agreed?
Is there any evidence that Jeffrey
I have a question
Epstein
for Ms.
was
Davies.
involved with or tied to the CIA or a foreign intelligence operation?
I think that the safest thing for me to say is...
Whoa. He just admitted that what Donald Trump said is true. The attorney for the ladies standing behind him are all nodding in agreement. There is no list. That should be clipped and played everywhere. He was emphatic. There is no list. They know of some of the people. They saw the faces. They understand who's out there. But now we definitively know. There can be no more doubt. There is no list. Even the ladies standing behind him were like, nope, no list. There was nothing where people wrote down names. People may know the names, they may have seen the names, they may have recognized the faces now, but there is no list. All right, so we can clear that off the table. There is no list for everybody who's waiting, everybody on X who's waiting for some list of names. That needs to be clipped and shown to everybody. There is no list. There's some recognition. We can find out who the people were by associate. They can show a lineup or something, but there is no written list. There's no black book.
Abused, and it was only because files are being kept in secrecy. The world should know who he is, who protected him, and the other people that are out there to be investigated need to be investigated.
Sir, question for Ms. Davies.
Are there any people who are currently serving in government who are named, who you know of, are in these files, who you had relations with? Anything of that sort, who Jeffrey Epstein connected you with? Are you willing to say yes or no?
I don't think I can answer that.
Mr. Edwards, right here, please. Mr. Edwards. Mr. Edwards,
Sorry.
Mr. Edwards, you represented Virginia Roberts Dufresne, correct?
Because they're saying they're being scared to talk.
I think she's referring to my speech. She's very good.
Hi, Anushka DeGiorgio. I have been threatened. I was threatened by phone. My daughter was threatened when I was volunteering to participate in, by means of being a witness in a civil lawsuit that Virginia Giuffre was bringing against Ghislaine Maxwell. I have been followed. I have been stalked. I have been followed not only by journalists, but by people who do not get out of the car and do not try and talk to me and just drive behind me as I drive my daughter to school. So the fear is very real for us. I have also been in multiple situations with both Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, where they have been direct and indirect about implying and saying that if I was to talk, if I was to bring any kind of trouble, then there would be severe consequence, including death.
Just to add to that, Maxwell also threatened my sister Maria Farmer. When the FBI did nothing about her initial report, we did. She reported individually at that time, and then in 2002, we spoke to a reporter at Vanity Fair, telling our stories, fearful that perhaps other people were being harmed. We were not. We believed that was going to make a difference. We believed that would be put in print, and that story was crushed. And it was because of their power, and the message that we got from that was direct threats from Maxwell to my sister about her well-being and her safety and that of our family. So I think many people have similar stories of threats. That has been a very real part of this case.
Go ahead, over here.
Do any of today's survivors speaking, did anybody here ever have any connection or interaction with Epstein's alleged financier, Leslie Wexner?
No.
Do you want to address that?
I just want to say one thing that's very clear when people say, please share names. There are names that are very well known, like that of Les Wexner, who everyone knows supplied an enormous amount of Epstein's, financial wealth and allowed this operation to happen. So it's, I think, confusing to many of us why there have not been more ramifications for him, and he's been seen as a victim when clearly, I believe there's more to it.
Mr. Edwards, right here, please.
But-
Mr. Edwards?
Yep.
Yeah, so you represented Virginia Roberts Giuffre for many years. She eventually had to recant the allegations that she made against Alan Dershowitz. She alleged that on at least 6 occasions.
All right, next question.
Next question.
Thank you.
Who's next?
Why is it that she should be?
Yeah, no, we're not answering your question. Anybody else?
How
did the victims feel about the interview that was given to Ghislaine Maxwell by Todd Blanche?
Why are you going to answer the question?
Okay, ma'am, I think that you had a question.
We're good, guys. When you've talked in the past
They
on
just avoided my question. You don't care?
when you've talked in the past on MSNBC about the existence of the Epstein birthday book, have you yourself in the course of litigation seen it?
I don't know that we're able to reveal what we've seen and what we have not seen by way of protective order, but my point being in that circumstance was, if anybody wants answers, there's an easy place to get it. I told you where to get it. I said the estate of Jeffrey Epstein has it, serve a subpoena on them, they'll turn it over. And if we had served a subpoena on them in the past, they would have turned it over and we would have seen it, which I don't usually miss subpoenas like that. So there we go.
Mr. Edwards, can you elaborate
Go ahead.
on the, just say one thing on there. You know, to your question about the allegations, there's a simple answer. Release the files. Let the American public decide. Instead of harassing, instead of, if I gave you your say,
made up egregious
look,
allegations against a prominent individual among others. She
You're
wrote a
hired by
memoir
Dershowitz.
and then had to admit Edwards and
But,
his other counsel.
you know, even
he knows what I'm talking about. That contained hugely salacious allegations against a whole.
You've been heard.
individual.
You've been heard.
So shouldn't you tell the public about this?
You've been heard, and even Alan Dershowitz says to release the files. Release the files. That is the answer, and that's what we're here for. And that is.
Can you elaborate on You said that Donald Trump gave you help in 2009. Can you elaborate on your interactions with Donald Trump back in 2009? And for any of the victims, they didn't ever see the president, but then not president yet, but they didn't ever see Trump with Epstein in any way.
I don't know who's. I don't think that we can answer that question. Did anybody see Trump with Epstein back then? This is really not a political thing. We want the passage of the bill, and this is not to call out President Trump.
What about your interaction with Trump?
My point was that he was friendly back then, did not think that it was a hoax, and was trying to help. And now it seems like all of a sudden somebody's in his ear and he's not. So I'm hoping he'll come back to where he was back in 2009. Be on the side of the victims and stand with us.
On the passage of the bill,
Go ahead.
Ashley Grassfield, Virginia caller, wanted to ask the victims what they thought of the interview with Todd Blanche with the Deputy Attorney General when the DOJ.
Did you answer? Do you want to answer?
I would.
Teresa will step up.
I would. Teresa J. Home. Happy to speak on that because what I will say is she got this airtime and platform. Her voice was elevated way before our voices were elevated here today. And that same calm, manipulative voice that she had so polite there that day with Todd Blanche was the same polite, coercive, manipulative voice that I heard as she was grooming me to then send me off to the home of Jeffrey Epstein where he would assault me. So that's what she was doing for hours, speaking with me, building relationship with me, building trust with me, allowing me to believe that I was going to get this job, a dream job that I had been recruited from my college, flown across the country from Los Angeles to New York City to interview, so I thought. So her voice that day was the same voice that sent me off to a monster. So nothing can be believed from what she says because she's...
Thank you very much. It's a great pleasure to have President Nawrocki with us, Poland. He did a good job with that, right? Gave me a little different pronunciation. I said, I want to get it perfect. Did I get it right?
Yeah.
Good.
Good. Yeah. Nawrocki.
I better get it right. And the president's been amazing. He had an incredible race. He came from behind and he won very handily. The people of Poland have taken to him immediately. They really love him. There's great love and respect. He's a very successful man, but he went into a political hatchet, so to speak. It was a pretty tough race, pretty nasty race, and he beat them all, and he beat them all very easily. And now he's become even more popular as they got to know him and know him better. He's doing a really fantastic job. So it's an honor to. I also endorsed him, so I'm very proud of that. I don't endorse too many people, but I endorsed him, and I was very proud of that, the job he's done. I want to thank Vince Haley for that recommendation. Vince was fantastic, and I appreciate it. And I can tell you who really appreciates it, Poland, because they're very happy with their president. And I just want to say it's an honor to have you. We'll be discussing trade and various other things, the things that you discuss. We'll have a few questions from you, and then we'll get on to a discussion. Then we'll have lunch, and then he goes and he meets with the Pope. And that'll be very exciting. And say hello to the Pope for me.
Yeah,
okay.
I will.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much,
Mr. President. Thank you very much, and I would like to express my gratitude for your invitation. Only after 1 month from my sworn and from celebration for my inauguration, it means that Polish-American relations are very important, very strong. I think that we have so strong relations that we have never had, and it's very important for me. Our relations are based, of course, on the values. Right. And thank you very much for your support, for your endorsement during my very hard campaign. I remember it, and I'm very grateful for your support. It was the fight me against others, so your support was very important, and the support of Polish people, Polish diaspora in United States of America. We have almost more than 10 million people here, and they voted for Donald Trump.
They voted for me.
Yeah, and in vast majority they voted also for me, so I would like to say hello to Polish diaspora in United States of America. Those relations for me, for Poland, for Poles, are very important with United States of America, and they are based on values: independence, sovereignty, democracy. And I think, Mr. President, that those values are epitomized by our common heroes,
yes,
Kazimierz Pułaski and Tadeusz Kościuszko. So thank you very much, and I hope it will be very fruitful discussion around the energy, around the economy and military service. Yeah.
And the flyover was very much in honor of your great pilot who just passed away recently, who was a legend in Poland. You might want to say something about him.
Yes, of course, it was a terrific accident in Poland. Thank you for this gesture that F-35 opened our meeting. Major Krakowian was one of the best Polish pilots, well-honed Polish pilots, and he died. He lost 2 children, so it was a great tragedy.
He was a legend in Poland,
He
actually,
was
a legend as a pilot. He was an incredible pilot, and I think he went to the Air Force Academy, actually. But he was a fantastic pilot, and it was a big setback. The people of Poland are very, very sad. So we thought we'd do that. That was the single plane that swooped up.
And machines, American machines, opened our meeting. It was great. And we are waiting for 32 F-35s in Poland. So it also shows that we have great relations according to the best military equipment on the world, American equipment, which build Polish security too.
Well, Poland, we've had a tremendous relationship. I think now it's better than ever because of this relationship. It's a little special because we fought together. But we've always been very good, and we have some wonderful people, as you know. Duda, my friend, he's a good man and still a big fan of yours, very much so. So it's a great honor, and we're going to talk about trade. We'll talk about some other things. We'll take a couple of questions from the media.
Will American soldiers remain in Poland? Will American soldiers remain in Poland?
Yeah. I think so. I mean, do you know something I don't? I don't know. Yeah, we're very happy. If anything, we'll put more there if they want. But they've long wanted to have a larger presence. We have some countries that have more, not too many, but no, they'll be staying in Poland. We're very much aligned with Poland.
Sir, on Russia and China, you, sir, can we ask about, we saw a dramatic picture where we saw the leaders of Russia and North Korea and China together, the first time the leaders of those three countries have been together in this sort of show of solidarity. You said that they're conspiring against the United States. What do you think they're conspiring to do? And given this, is it reason why you should slap or would consider slapping secondary sanctions on Russia if they're conspiring against the U.S. now?
Well, I've already done that with regard to India, and we're doing it with regard to other things. And I put out a truth last night. You saw that. And I was the one that brought it up. I said, they're only doing this. They're looking to, when they did what they did, I thought it was a beautiful ceremony. I thought it was very, very impressive. But I understood the reason they were doing it, and they were hoping I was watching, and I was watching. My relationship with all of them is very good. We're going to find out how good it is over the next week or two. I think that we helped China very much, as you know, when they talk about freedom. And I don't believe that, and maybe I'm wrong, I hope I'm wrong, but I don't believe that America, that the United States was acknowledged for helping China to gain its freedom. But perhaps that was just that was a sleight of hand. I mean, I was very surprised. I watched the speech last night. President Xi's a friend of mine, but I thought that the United States should have been mentioned last night during that speech because we helped China very, very much.
What was the reason?
They should have been invited, Mr. President.
What was the reason?
Mr. President, do you think they should have been invited?
Yes, go ahead.
You've expressed many times your frustration and disappointment with Putin, but there's no action since you took your office.
How do you know there's no? How do you know there's no action? Really? Wait. Who are you with? Who are you with?
I'm with Polish radio.
Okay. How do you know there's no action? Would you say that putting secondary sanctions on India, the largest purchaser outside of China, they're almost equal? Would you say there was no action? That cost hundreds of billions of dollars to Russia. You call that no action? And I haven't done phase 2 yet or phase 3. But when you say there's no action, I think you ought to get yourself a new job. Because if you remember, 2 weeks ago I said, if India buys, India's got big problems, and that's what happened. So don't tell me about that. Go ahead.
Mr. President,
Mr. President, right now there have been survivors of Jeffrey Epstein speaking at a press conference on Capitol Hill. They're calling for these case files, these documents to be released. And Thomas Massey, who was sponsoring a discharge position to get the House to vote on the release of those documents, says he doesn't believe you're implicated in these files, but many of your friends and donors may be, and he says that's why the Justice Department is redacting them and slow-walking the release. Is the Justice Department protecting any friends or donors, sir?
So this is a Democrat hoax that never ends. You know, it reminds me a little of the Kennedy situation. We gave him everything over and over again, more and more and more, and nobody's ever satisfied. From what I understand, I could check, but from what I understand, thousands of pages of documents have been given. But it's really a Democrat hoax because they're trying to get people to talk about something that's totally irrelevant to the success that we've had as a nation since I've been president. Even if you look at D.C. right now, D.C., it's a totally safe zone. It's called a safe zone. That's a term. It's a term of art. It's a safe zone because it's very safe. You can walk down the street now and nothing's going to happen. No crime, no murders, no nothing. Because we had a lot of problems with certain places, and we still do. All run by Democrats, or for the most part run by Democrats. So what they're trying to do with the Epstein hoax is get people to talk about that instead of speaking about the tremendous success like ending 7 wars. I ended 7 wars. Nobody's going to talk about because they're going to talk about the Epstein whatever. Sir, I understand that we were subpoenaed to give files, and I understand we've given thousands of pages of files. And I know that no matter what you do, it's going to keep going. And I think it's enough because I think we should talk about the greatness of our country and the success that we're having. I think we're probably having, according to what I read, even from 2 people in this room, we're having the most successful 8 months of any president ever. And that's what I want to talk about. That's what we should be talking about, not the Epstein hoax.
When are you going to make a decision on Ukraine, Mr. President? Mr. President.
I have no message to President Putin. He knows where I stand, and he'll make a decision one way or the other. Whatever his decision is, we'll either be happy about it or unhappy. And if we're unhappy about it, you'll see things happen.
Sir, Venezuela, can you give us a sense of what the U.S. policy or what you're trying to achieve with the aircraft carriers, or the boats, I should say, in near Venezuela, and also the boat that you mentioned yesterday where 11 people were killed? What was found on that boat, and why were the men killed instead of taken into
On the boat, you had massive amounts of drugs. We have tapes of them speaking. It was massive amounts of drugs coming into our country to kill a lot of people. And everybody fully understands that. In fact, you see it. You see the bags of drugs all over the boat. And they were hit, obviously. They won't be doing it again. And I think a lot of other people won't be doing it again when they watch that tape. They're going to say, let's not do this. We have to protect our country, and we're going to. Venezuela's been a very bad actor. They've been, as you know, they've been sending millions of people into our country, many of them Tren de Aragua, some of the worst gangs, some of the worst people anywhere in the world in terms of gangs. And we had some in Washington, D.C. We took care of them very quickly, but they're out of here. They've gone. But Venezuela's been very bad, both in terms of drugs and sending some of the worst criminals anywhere in the world into our country. They emptied out, you don't know this, but they emptied out their prisons in Venezuela, and they emptied them out into the United States of America. And that's part of the problem we have. We're getting them out. We're getting them out rapidly, but it's caused a tremendous problem. And Pete and all of the people that are working very hard to rectify the stupidity of the Biden administration, allowing these people to pour into our country with open borders. We are paying a big price as a country for the incompetence of the Biden administration. But think of it, opened up prisons, drug dealers, drug lords, everything coming out of Venezuela, they said, and we said, we're not going to put up with it anymore. So Venezuela has been one of the worst actors in the whole group, and we have a group of pretty bad actors.
Are you wanting to force withdrawal?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. At the end of this month, the government, or the Congress, has to pass a budget. Do you think we can avoid a government shutdown?
Yeah, I do. I think the Republicans will vote for an extension. We won't have any Democrat votes. We could give the greatest budget ever. Tax cut of 50%, everybody taken care of, perfect for women, perfect for men, perfect for minorities, perfect for everything, and we wouldn't get one vote for the Democrats because they've lost their mind. They are so deranged. They have Trump derangement syndrome, and I don't want to burden the Republican Party with it, but they really are. They've become almost sick. They actually think there is a disease. It's called Trump derangement syndrome. They've got it. No matter what we did, no matter how good, you could give them everything that they've ever dreamed of, and you wouldn't get one vote. These are sick people, and I think we're going to have a tremendous midterm. We just approved the largest tax decrease in the history of our country. We have things, if you think of it, no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security for our seniors, no tax on overtime, deductions when you buy a car and you borrow money to buy a car. First time they've ever seen anything like this. Middle-income people get deductions. You get a deduction when you buy a car. Nobody's ever seen. And by the way, they're selling cars like crazy. Cars are pouring back because of the fact that we have tariffs. Cars are pouring back into our car plants are pouring back into our nation. They're coming from all over the world. They're coming back. You know, we lost about 54% of automobile manufacturing over a 30-year period, 35-year period. They're all coming back. I think they're coming back higher than ever before. We have AI going up. What we've done is amazing, and what we've passed is amazing. But the Democrats, I don't believe, will get one vote. It's very anti-crime. We want anti-crime. They're in favor of crime. We're against crime. You know, they gave us things like men playing in women's sports, open borders for everybody, transgender for everybody. I mean, they wanted transgender for all of the crazy things that they were saying. And, you know, people would say they're 80-20 issues. I say they were 97-3. I always say 97-3, and nobody knows who the three are. This is the best issue of all. They are against preventing crime. They are fighting us. I want to go into Chicago, and I have this incompetent governor that doesn't want us. Do you know that this weekend 72 people were shot in Chicago? I'm embarrassed to say it in front of the president of Poland. 11 people were killed. 72 people were shot. Last week, 7 people were killed in Chicago, a place which is probably your number one place. I hate to say it.
Yeah, a lot of Poles in Chicago.
And we got to keep it safe. But 7 people were killed. The week before that, 5 people were killed and 21 people were shot. This is in 3 weeks. So in 3 weeks, I lost almost 35 people were killed. It could have been stopped. If you look at Washington, D.C., 3 weeks ago, it was the same or worse. And now it's considered a totally safe zone. Restaurants are open. They're bustling. Restaurants, you have to see, restaurants were dying. Nobody wanted to go out. They didn't want to be attacked. They didn't want to be mugged. They didn't want to be attacked even in the restaurant. And you take a look at what's happened. Friends of mine that haven't gone to a restaurant in 4 years, one of them went out 5 times in the last 2 weeks to a restaurant with his family. They feel totally safe. Washington, D.C. is a totally safe city. You're not reporting any crime because there is none. They said crime is down 87%, and I said, no, it's not. It's down 100%. We have a great thing going. I could do that with Chicago. We could do that with New York. We could do it with Los Angeles. So we're making a determination now. Do we go to Chicago, or do we go to a place like New Orleans, where we have a great governor, Jeff Landry, who wants us to come in and straighten out a very nice section of this country that's become quite tough, quite bad. So we're going to be going to maybe Louisiana, and you have New Orleans, which has a crime problem. We'll straighten that out in about 2 weeks. It'll take us 2 weeks, easier than D.C. But we could straighten out Chicago. All they have to do is ask us to go into Chicago if we don't have the support of some of these politicians. But I'll tell you who is supporting us, the people of Chicago. And I sort of want them to let it be known. They have incompetent people. A guy like Gavin Newsom, he's the governor of a state that if we didn't go into Los Angeles with our soldiers, with our National Guard, you wouldn't even be having the Olympics there. They were going to take it. And remember this, your top law enforcement officer in Los Angeles said, there's no way we could have done this without President Trump coming in with the troops. We saved Los Angeles and we saved the Olympics. Thank you very much.
I got this. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you. Mr. President, in regards to Gavin Newsom, would you be open to a congressional investigation in regards to the Pacific Palisades fire where killed 12 seniors to see if there's any negligence on Gavin Newsom or Karen Bass in regards to those deaths?
Well, I'll tell you, there's negligence on not getting people permits. That is negligent. We got all of the federal permits. Lee Zeldin, the federal permits are much more difficult. They were all gotten within 30 days. People could go build their houses. It's going to be years before they are allowed to build their house. And Karen Bass is grossly incompetent. And Newsom, this is a very incompetent guy. I watched him with the hands. I'm saying, what's going on with the hands? There's something wrong with him. You watch him. There's something wrong with this guy. But more importantly, he didn't allow the water to come from the Pacific Northwest. You know, they have tremendous amounts of water in California. People don't know. They send the water out to the Pacific Ocean. So I demanded it be open. If that were open during the fire, before the fire, you wouldn't have had the fire because all the sprinklers would have worked in the houses. They had no water. They had no water in the fire hydrants. You wouldn't have had the fires. It would have been put out after one house, 2 houses. But he stopped the water from coming in. And I had to send in the military to have that water opened after the fires. And now they have water, but he should have more because they still restricted. There's something wrong with these people. There's something really wrong. As to investigation, I view it as a gross incompetence. I view it as an ideology that's wrong. It's a radical left ideology. And if I didn't win this election, I think our country would be destroyed. I don't believe you'd be here right now, and our country would be destroyed. Yeah.
Mr. President Trump, thank you, sir. What's the most important branches of interest between Poland and U.S. in your opinion?
Well, it's just the relationship we have. I think there's a great trust and a great, more than most countries, more than almost any countries. We have some in a category that's very special, and Poland is in that category. We have a very special relationship. It's like The question about the soldiers that was asked, we never even thought in terms of removing soldiers from Poland. We do think about it with regard to other countries, but we would never know. We're with Poland all the way, and we will help Poland protect itself.
I would like to add something. Yeah, of course, security is most important also for our relation. And I'm a historian, as you know, maybe, Mr. President.
Sure.
I'm a historian, and this is the first time in Polish history, in 20th century and the 21st century, that the Poles are happy that we have foreign soldiers. In Poland, so the American soldiers are the part of our society nowadays. We have almost 10,000 soldiers, and this is the signal to the whole world and also to the Russian Federation that we are together, but we are not like the Poland free riders in Europe and in NATO. Mr. President Trump knows it, because our GDP for military service achieved 4.7, so we are probably the one NATO nation which is on this level, and we will not stop. Me, as the President of Poland, we are going to achieve 5% of GDP for military service, but with American soldiers on Polish soil, we solidified and we are secure.
Just about that, Poland was one of two nations that paid more than they were supposed to with NATO. I don't know if anyone knows that, but there were two nations, and Poland paid more than they were supposed to. They thought it was low. And by the way, since then, at my request, they've raised it from 2% to 5%. But Poland was one of two nations that paid more than they were supposed to, which was a very nice thing. Yeah.
You were upset that you were not invited to the parade in Beijing.
Never even thought about it until just now.
President Dabrowski, what's your message for President?
Never even thought. It wouldn't have been my place to be there.
On tariffs?
Will you visit a restaurant in D.C.? You haven't gone to...
I might, sure.
You haven't gone to one in either of your terms that wasn't...
How do you know? How do you know?
Because I and many other...
Do you want me to prove you wrong? Do you want me to prove you wrong?
Yes, please.
But I will, I think it's something we could consider doing. I'd love to do it. I love the White House food, but after a while I can see going to a nice restaurant. It's safe. If you would have said, like the Governor Moore wanted me to go and walk through Baltimore with him, and I said, I think I'm a brave guy, but there's no reason to be stupid. They have crime that's at levels that nobody's ever seen before in Baltimore. They've done a terrible job. We'd go into Baltimore, straighten it out very quickly, too. You know why? They respect our soldiers. You see our soldiers. They respect our soldiers. We'd go there, too. But we're going to have people asking us to go. They're going to want to, and I think the people of those places the politicians are not in tune with the people. The people in Chicago, the people in Baltimore, the people in all of the places we talk about, they want to see us there. And I think we're pretty much waiting till we get asked and properly. Because we're doing them a big service. Yeah, please.
You're talking about how historic these tariffs have been, bringing in revenue, additional revenue for our country. You've also mentioned before they could possibly replace federal income tax.
Possible.
Do you think that's...
Someday it's possible. It used to be. So if you go back to 1913 is when they ended tariffs. We were the richest ever from 1850. It was all tariffs. We didn't have income taxes. From 1850 to 1913. In the 1887s, about 1887, they had the Great National Tariff Act. And it was a group of people that got together because our country was so rich, they didn't know what to do with the money. We had so much money, they didn't know what to do. It was a group of very prominent people that were set up to hand out money to everybody because we were the richest we ever were. Proportionately, we were in 1887, around that time, even in 1913. We ended them in 1913. How did that work out? And then we went to the income tax system, and then we had the Depression. And by the way, a lot of people try and say that, tariffs with the Depression. No, they ended in 1913, and then we went to income tax, and then in 1929 you had the Depression. They did try and bring it back in 1931-32, but the Depression had long started, and this poor, beautiful nation was gone. It was gone. We suffered for 25 years. It took 25, 30 years to really recover from the Depression. And we don't ever want to see that happen again. The tariffs are vital to the success of this country. When I say I ended 7 wars, at least half of those wars were ended because of the power of tariffs. I was able to say, well, we're not doing any business with you, or if you're going to war, we're putting a big tariff on you. And all of a sudden they announced that the war was settled. I settled 7 different wars, one going 31 years, look at the Congo and Rwanda, look at that, 31 years, 10 million people dead, I got it settled. And a little bit of that one, less than in some cases, had to do with trade and had to do with tariffs. So, tariffs are vital to our country. And just so you know, other countries use them on us, but I just used them a lot better. We're in a much better position. We have trillions of dollars coming into our country. If we didn't have tariffs, we would be a very poor nation, and we would be taken advantage of by every other nation in the world, friend and foe. We're not going to let that happen. And we have a very, very big case in the Supreme Court. I can only say this. Our country has a chance to be unbelievably rich again, but it can also be unbelievably poor again. If we don't win that case, our country is going to suffer so greatly.
What's the backup plan, sir?
But I think we're going to have a big victory. Even if you look at the people that brought the case, they're foreign-oriented. They're foreign. Countries have taken advantage of the United States for so many years. And I started with China. Last term, I took in hundreds of billions of dollars in tariffs from China. But when COVID came, the last thing I was going to do is we're going to tariff France and Italy and, others, Spain, when they were doing so badly. But now we made a deal with the European Union where they're paying us almost $1 trillion, and they're happy to do it. You know what? They're happy. It's done. These deals are all done. I guess we'd have to unwind them. We've done deals with Japan, with South Korea. We've done deals with many countries and others to come. And if we didn't have the power, prestige, and dignity of tariffs, and I used them wisely, and people respect America again, and we've become a rich country again. The money coming in is incredible. And again, they use them on us. If we didn't have them, they would use them on us, and we would have no way to fight them. We would be a third world nation. So I think it's one of the most important cases I've ever seen go before the Supreme Court of the U.S.
2 weeks ago, you gave Vladimir Putin a 2-week deadline to agree to talks with Volodymyr Zelensky. That deadline is now nearly approached. Can you give us any indication of when you will make a decision?
Well, I'm having a conversation with him very shortly, and I'll know pretty much what we're going to be doing. We've taken very strong action, as you know. And in other ways, we've taken very strong action. But I'll be speaking to him over the next few days, and we're going to see.
With who, sir?
I'm going to know exactly what's happening. But I'm not happy with all the people. You got 7,819 people killed last week. Russian soldiers and Ukraine soldiers, right? Not American soldiers, not soldiers from Poland, but they're human beings. They're souls. They have parents. They wave goodbye to their parents, and their parents never see them again. That's the end of them. Over a stupid war, and I want to see it stopped. Now, we have stopped the money. We send weapons to NATO. They pay full price. We don't, Biden spent $350 billion so stupidly. And it was one of the reasons that this whole thing happened. A big reason this war happened was sitting right in these chairs, this one in particular. So I will tell you that I think we're going to have a good solution. But they're losing soldiers at levels that nobody has seen since the Second World War. This is the worst conflict, and it's just going on and on. It's one's defense, one's offense. The offense moves a little bit, just a little bit. You take a look. They move inches. They're dropping bombs and killing everybody. The whole thing is not since the Second World War has there been anything even close to this. And they're not soldiers from my country. This is my country. But I have a power to end things. That's why I was able to end 7 other wars. And you know that I thought of the 7, they're basically 7. Those were tough wars to end. Much tougher, I thought, than the war with Ukraine and Russia. I thought that Ukraine and Russia have a very good relationship with President Putin. I thought that would be much easier. I thought that would be in the middle of the pack, maybe one of the easiest. Sometimes you never know with war. War is a very interesting thing. You never know with war. War is complex and dangerous, and And what a mess, what a bloody mess. It's going to get done one way or the other. But they have to stop killing all of these souls. They're souls, and we have to stop killing.
Just a follow-up on that.
Thank you, press. Keep moving. Thank you. Out the door. Thank you. Guys, out the door. Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Get out. You ain't got to go home. Get the hell out of here. So let me just say this with all truthfulness, veracity, and emphasis. If you're looking for information on, hold on 1 second. If you're looking for information on Epstein, I'm not going to be the channel for you. That's it. Today, that was it. That thing that they call the press conference. I let it play because I said it's news. It should be out there. But after President Trump just dropped the curtain on it, I'm done. I'm absolutely done. I'm sorry if that bothers some people, but until something happens, nothing's happening. That's how I feel about it. And I just don't have the time to continue with it would be one thing if something was happening that we could talk about concretely, that there was some list. They just admitted there's no list. So without there being a list, and here's the reason why I'm just done. Without there being a list, there is nothing that's going to be able to be brought to a court. Because what is going to happen is, if it ever happened, is that it's going to be a media circus. Oh, release the files. What the hell does that mean? That means you want to convict people, Democrats included. I'm not protecting anybody, but if you release all these files so the American people will know, without there being something that definitively says this person abused this woman, you're going to destroy somebody's character without a shred of legal evidence. I am not going to be one who advocates for that. You got the goods, arrest them. And if you don't arrest them, then everything else out here is a peanut gallery assassinating people. I don't know if you noticed it, but when they brought up the name Alan Dershowitz during that press conference, every single one of those women at that point could have walked up to that microphone and said, here's what I know about Alan Dershowitz. Nothing. So I don't need a Transparency Act. If you women, which I don't doubt, were assaulted over a number of years, some of them said 5 and 6 years, you could have walked up to that microphone and said, this person, and this person did this to me. I wanted to show you something, because while President Trump was talking, I had that thing running, and I got pissed off. I want to show you this. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Look at those sharks. What you're looking at in this picture are the press, the amount of press that were salivating for names. I'm going to let you just keep looking at that. Every single one of there must be 70 to 100 people in the press chasing this ghost, hinging on every single word that these women had to say, praying that they would say the word Trump. Please tell us Trump's involved. Please. Look at all of them. And still, they had the opportunity. They said nobody allowed them to talk. They said it's not going away. Well, you could make it go away. You're standing in front of a microphone. Hey, this is the guy's name that did it. You know how you could say that and not worry about being sued? Because truth is 100% a defense against defamation. If you said Fred Jones did this to me, and Fred Jones says I'm going to sue you, Well, then guess what? Fred Jones, his entire lawsuit against you would go away if you can prove it's true. Now, here's what the problem is. If you said Fred Jones did this to me, well, the media is going to destroy Fred Jones, absolutely eviscerate Fred Jones. His business is going to be destroyed. His marriage or family are going to be destroyed. And the only thing that is a part of that is this woman saying it. It's almost as if they're trying to bring back the past where Me Too moment. Every woman should be believed. No. Every woman should have the ability to have their case in court. Not just make a statement, hey, Fred Jones did it. And Fred Jones says, no, I didn't do it. Now what do you do? See, this is where the difficulty in this whole Epstein thing comes in. Every single one of us, here I am, going to say it again, every single one of us wants to see whoever did this brought to justice. Can we take that as a basis point? Yes, without a doubt. Nobody wants these people to go unscathed. They should be hung. Now, how do you get to that point? We're old enough. We're all adults. We've all done things with other people in our past. Come on. Be honest with yourself. And if somebody came and said, you know what? John Smith did this to me. John Smith was like, no, I didn't. No, I never touched you. How in 2025 are you going to prove that John Smith did what you said they did? And I think this is what President Trump is saying. President Trump is probably completely fed up. Are you telling me this is what you got? And he probably went to Pam. And he goes, can you convict on this? And she's like, no. It's her word against his. How many people do you know? Well, I've got 25 victims who say this, this, and this. Is there anything I can use in court to say that this person did this? Any witnesses? No. Any video? Don't know. Anything that shows that John Smith did the deed with this little girl? No. Just her voice. And that's when President Trump probably said, well, what the hell are we doing here? Every single one of us has tears, have felt all this crime. We know it happened. We know that something happened. Everybody acknowledges this guy was one of the worst of the worst. We watched the movie last night. And as you watched that movie, you said the same thing. But at least in some instances in that movie, you actually caught the dude with the little kid. I know you did it because I caught you. Here's the dude. Here's the kid. You're going to jail. I don't know how these women will ever get satisfaction without having a public slaying. And those of you right now who are listening to me are like, Barry, why are you saying this? This sounds... No, I'm just being realistic. It pains me. When I said I'm done with it, it's because I'm pained. It's futile. I don't know how we would ever get to any resolution. It sucks. It absolutely sucks. Let's hope God deals with these people. God knows. You can't hide what you've done. You need to go fess up if you've done some of this stuff. But other than that, in terms of seeking justice and making sure somebody pays for what they've done to these women and kids, how are we going to prove it? As I listen to them talk, and I'm like, this is awful. Here's $200. Do this. And I'm like, these poor women. Because for so long they've been silent, and now it's like, okay, it sounds horrible. And if it was my sister, my daughter, my mom, I would want to kill this guy because of my emotion. I don't have any proof other than the woman telling me this. And so my emotion would tell me, you need to rip this guy's head off. Now I'm sitting in a courtroom and I'm a juror. And all of you are jurors. And just put it this way. Don't be concerned with what I'm thinking. Think about yourself right now as a juror, and you're sitting here, and you're in the jury box. If you've never served on one, it's very compelling. Let me just tell you that. And you have to just really try to put yourself, all right, I'm only gonna make sure I listen objectively to what's put before me. And you bring in Susie Q, and Susie says it was awful. They did this to me when I was in high school, and I graphically believe, I understand, I can see it like it's yesterday, and he gave me $200. And then all the defense attorney would say is, what did you do with that $200? I don't remember. Oh. So, what did you do when you got brought over? And he would go, as you've seen it on TV, methodically, to where we're like, you never told anybody, you never called anybody, you never said this, never said that. Is there anybody who can come in and say, she told me in 1999? Is there anybody who, you take any pictures? Do you have anything in your GPS, if they had it back then, that showed you going there? Was it on your phone or what? Anything? How do we even know you went to the house? You gotta take my word for it. And then the guy shows up and says, I don't know her, never seen her, couldn't tell you who she is. Did you ever? Nope, never touched her. And you're in a jury going, what in the hell do I do? That's what Trump probably said. Oh my gosh, I know this guy's dirty, and I know these women were hurt. How do we prove it? How do we make? And then when he heard, there's no list. No. Nobody actually wrote a list down. Not Ghislaine, not Epstein. Nobody has a list. No. Well, what the hell are we going to do, Pam? How are we going to fix this? And Pam's like, I have no idea. We all know it happened. The only thing we could probably do is find some guys, rouse these guys up and take them out back, show them to Alligator Alcatraz, put a hole in their cabin, make sure there's a nice big old hole right underneath their cabin. That way, and lock them inside so that the gators come up and do what they, they got ate by a gator. Or bring them down to some good old boys in the bayou. But other than that, I don't know how, I don't know. I don't know what we do. And so that's why I'm just not going to go with it. Yeah, every victim has a lawyer who are collecting evidence, and statements can't expose names until they're arrested. Okay, you said they're collecting evidence. What evidence? I'll wait. You got pictures? No. I'm pretty sure if this guy was as prolific as he was, and was the worst one ever, he didn't let you walk in with a cell phone. He didn't let you make any phone calls. What evidence? You think they had panties from like 1999? And I'm being graphic here, but you said they're collecting it. What evidence? There's the answer. Gator bait. Don't forget the trial. She said this happened, and we kind of believe her, and so you got to go. Yes, God will take care of all these evil ones. I believe that. The girls that were trafficked lived in his neighborhood. You know what I'm going to say? How do you know? I'm not the bad guy here. I'm just being completely open and seeing, I'll say it, I'd like to see these people 6 feet under to the ground, but I don't know how we get them there. Many would never make it onto the jury because they already passed judgment. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's another thing. Because we all believe it. So we would all, if they said, hey, Mr. Cunningham, so what do you feel about Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell? I think they're the scum of the earth. No, sorry, you can't be here. So you'd have to say, I don't know anything about it, and I've never had anything pass my mind in regards to forming an opinion on trafficking. Said nobody ever. Especially if you have a daughter, a wife, or a mom, or sisters. Because within that group of you, there is either someone you know or someone they know who's gone through this. Maybe not to that extent, but, they've had problems. What they do? Nobody believed them, and that was it. It's crazy. It's crazy. Can the girls describe his body with no clothes on? I don't know. They were 16, not 8. In most states, 16 is legal consent. Ooh, crazy. Gina says you're not wrong. It is probably the biggest pill to swallow right now, knowing what we've been told, what we seem to know, what we've heard these women cry, is that big pill at this point is they're going to get away with it on this earth, aren't they? And I'm thinking it's 2025, they've already gotten away with it. They've already gotten away with it because I don't know what kind of evidence would still remain. Short of somebody walking in and going, I can't live with this guilt anymore, here's what I've done, that guy, yeah, would have to go away. But I don't know how you bring somebody else in with no evidence. You wouldn't even have to have a high-priced attorney. It's like, he's never seen her before. Prove it. Remember, in a court of law, to get a conviction, you have to prove it. And what's the term? Oh yeah, beyond a reasonable doubt. Civilly, if you wanted to do a civil suit, then perhaps they should have sued already. I don't know what they're going to do. It pains my heart. So evil, Barry. So evil. Who just keeps getting away with it? Yeah. Exactly. You are absolutely right. It is extremely evil. The truth will come to the light. It may indeed. Sherry has a good, Sherry, who is a survivor herself. I took my abuser to court almost 30 years later because it affected my mental health. 3 people as witnesses, and I still lost. No proof. 3 people as witnesses and still lost. Sherry, bless you, and hope God has made you feel better and given you comfort. But if that's it, I'm going to stop talking about it right now because that is it. Sherry said 30 years. It affected my mental health. 3 people as witnesses, and she still lost. No proof. I want to let you guys read that for a while from a survivor. Sherry is a survivor, and she's letting you know her instance. She's telling you what just happened to her. And that's what dawned on me when I was watching Trump, and I was like, he's telling you. Maybe he shouldn't have used the word hoax, but the list part is a hoax. And then their attorney said it. There is no list. All right, so if there's no list, there's no prosecution available. There's no evidence. People keep saying the evidence. What evidence? We don't, a flight log? Okay, yeah, I took a trip. What's that mean? Yeah, I went down to that resort. Yeah. What? Or I wasn't on that plane. That's somebody else's writing. You can't even prove that the names in the flight logs actually flew the plane. It wasn't a commercial airline. Sherry, you're absolutely right. It sucks. It absolutely sucks. It sucks so bad, And so Ghislaine Maxwell is probably the only person who could tie some actual names to it, and she ain't talking for whatever reason. She is the evidence. Ghislaine Maxwell is the evidence. And even then, if she says Fred Jones was on the island and did this or that, then Fred's attorney's going to say, prove it. What do you have? Well, Ghislaine says she saw you. So? So what? I was sunbathing. It was a nice island out there in the Virgin Islands, whatever it was. I was chilling, drinking daiquiris. Yeah, I went there a few times. What are you gonna do? And I don't mean to sound cocky and facetious, but somebody needs to. These ladies, that was the perfect chance. Every microphone in the world was there. It was all there. You had a full gamut of reporters hanging on your every word, and you gave them nothing. You gave all of us nothing. I'll tell you what. If somebody did that to me, and there was a microphone in my face, you're done. John Smith, did this, and did this. He made me do this and do this 3 or 4 or 5 different times. You guys need to go check out John Smith. Why didn't they do that? I don't know. If someone did that to my mom or my sister or my daughter, if I couldn't get my hands on them, I would ruin them. I'd make sure this person knows. I'm going to let everybody know. Death threats? I don't give a shit about your death threats. Bring it. I would love to take you on. They didn't say anything. Someone has to have a smoking gun. I bet you Ghislaine does. She does. Yeah, exactly. I'd be spewing all the dirt. Especially, put it this way, if I knew especially that the legal system wasn't going to help me, if what I know right now is that the FBI are in cash and if nobody's going to help me, I'm talking like a bird. Okay, here's what he did. Here's what he wore. Here's where we were. I would just spew the beans on these people, but they didn't. It was just more and more. And I feel for every single one of those women. As they were talking, I was like, and, close your eyes as you hear them. You're like, this is bad. And it only makes it and compounds it and makes it worse when you find out there's no way to prosecute. At least, again, I go back to the movie last night. In case you guys weren't with us, we did Sound of Freedom. We played that movie. And, the look on Jim Caviezel's face when he caught that guy in the restaurant, you guys, last night, and he goes, "You scumbag, you're going down." Because the guy said it. He was right there. "Yeah, I'm moving kids. I caught you. Red-handed." When they did the whole thing on the beach and all the guys were out there, coming up, here are all the kids we stole. Yeah, you're going to jail. All right, let's move on. All right, so I like what Jim says. I wouldn't say a word. I would just handle it hillbilly style. You can call it hillbilly style. You can call it Italian style. You can call it the Yakuza. Exactly right. I wouldn't even say nothing. Honey, he did that? Okay. Yeah. Because I know my loved one isn't going to lie to me. And I'll take care of it. You don't need to know what happens next. Just get the bail money and get the attorney in case somebody points a finger at me, because I'm coming for you. And I think a lot of you feel the exact same way. All right, so it is 12:30, and this afternoon I'm going to do a show. I decided I'm going to go on at 3 p.m. Going to have a new show at 3 p.m. and we've got John Rich. We're going to do an interview with him at, I believe, 4 p.m. Unless something changes. So 3 p.m. I will be back with a regular news show. I got a whole bunch of stuff to talk about, and I'm sure in the next 2.5 hours, more and more stuff will come out. If you're like a lot of people, I don't want to leave you hanging. If you're concerned about what you heard with those women, pray. Just pray about it in your mind and say, and somehow get your mind reconciled to the fact that, yeah, we may not have any closure on this. And as bad as you feel about not having any closure, imagine how they feel. And how much prayer these ladies need, and the other ones who weren't standing there. Because if it's bothering you to the point of you have so much anger, just imagine how they feel. Every time they've laid down and closed their eyes, what they see. And then having to get married and just can't imagine the first or touching somebody after you have had that happen to you. How many relationships were lost because you told the person and they're like, "I'm good," and they walked away from you. Finding a strong partner who's like, "All right, I'm with you. We're going to get through this." It's very tough. So if you felt pain listening to them, just imagine what they're going through and having had to carry that for a long, long time, and still realizing, even though you came out and said all this today, more than likely, nothing is going to happen. Pray for them. Pray for them, because they need that. They definitely need it. I'll see you guys around 3. oops, I forgot. SV was going to text me. I don't know if there's any super chats in here, but if there are any super chats, I almost forgot. Hold on. I always click the button. You're like, okay, see you guys later. And then before he hit me up, I was going, oh, wait. I have to acknowledge everybody. And it's not have to. I gladly acknowledge people. It helps. Every single cent helps. All right. Susan, thank you, Barry, for showing this and not the pigs who don't believe in God or our president. Yeah, exactly. Mama Mima, my thoughts are what happened isn't the hoax. The files are the hoax. Yeah, because we don't even know who put those files together. Susan, I believe every word these women are speaking is true. It's very good. Tip Jar, I feel sorry for these women. Absolutely, knucklehead. William Santos, Barry, as always, your show is on point. Thank you, William. Benedette Salerno, Trump has Newsom folding his hands. Now, Trump is in his brains and living rent-free in his head. Trump is smart for the left. Yep. Fight for the truth. Barry, besides the news you give us, I really appreciate the information you give us on finance and real estate. Never stop. Thank you and God bless. Thank you. That really means something to me, because I don't know why people get mad, but they still do, and it doesn't make any sense to me, but it happens. Mama Mima, they got a foam at the mouth about the comment that Trump was Epstein's friend. Yep, you know it's coming. George, thank you. Knucklehead again. All the victims are outing themselves, and I think just open the files. Who are we protecting now? I got something to say about that in a second. Tin Lee, we don't want any more Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard. Whew, that was a tough trial. Enough with Me Too. Enough with baseless accusation. Enough with guilty before proven. Yes, absolutely. What Knucklehead said there, if all the victims are outing themselves and I think we just open the files, who are we protecting now? I completely agree. Rip the Band-Aid off. I found it very interesting. I hope you guys found it interesting. When they mentioned the name Alan Dershowitz, they all kind of cringed, but nobody said anything. And then their lawyers like, move on. I'm like, wait a second. That's what you're here for. That is specifically what hey, if there's meat on that bone, give us a taste. Let me gnaw on that bone a little bit. What do you know about Dershowitz? And can we move on? Next question. Well, if you can't face that question, why the hell do we talk about any other question? You're holding a press conference, you got a question, and you won't answer the damn question. Only the questions you want to answer. That's not how any of this works. You have women who are victims. If Alan Dershowitz did some dirty stuff, we all should know. And then you're worried about him being an attorney and suing the pants off you. But hey, you know what? If I was in that situation and somebody did something like that to me, and somebody wants to sue me, go for it. I'm going to tell you what he did, and I'm going to take my chances when you sue me. Because, as I mentioned, you can look it up, the truth is 100% the ultimate defense against defamation. If I said you're a Nazi and I can't prove that you're a Nazi, then guess what? I'm going to get sued. But if I say you're a Nazi and I can show you hanging out with the boys in Germany and you got your uniform on, then guess what? You can't sue me. So, if Alan Dershowitz did the deed, and there seemed to be a collective sigh. Oh, like, wait a second. So there's more than one of you who know about Alan Dershowitz. That together is evidentiary. You're telling me, no, not just Susie, but Jane and Sheila and Denise, they're all going to come in? Hey, wait a minute. Now I'm on that jury. If you all know something about Dershowitz, let's hear it. Let's see if we can put together a case. But I don't even take the question. I'm done. I'm totally done. Trump is right. As always, Trump is right. There is no list. It doesn't exist. They admitted it. And understand right now, that little exchange at that little press conference just destroyed their cases. They just admitted to the public, there is no list. So there shouldn't be anybody on television pontificating about there being some list. We now know for sure, even from the victims, there is no list. Now what do they do? I don't even know at this point. See you at 3 o'clock.